don't like Indian food, but I like your food. I kicked her out of my restaurant.
You kicked her out. Still serving rats?
First we were street to table with rats.
Yeah.
Now we are lake to table.
What's more interesting than a rat?
We got a nice Thai water monitor. Now we do lizard brain. Sustainability is the biggest greenwashing in our industry.
Reinvent was also your man.
Yes, he was my senior.
Yeah.
So, he was one of the reasons why I left. I think Taj still owns me my provident fund.
You went and worked in the Noma kitchen, 15 years ago for a day?
Yeah, for one day. I think I didn't belong there.
In what way?
Because I'm a creep. I'm a wild animal. I like my freedom. I like to be in my jungle.
I thought the problem was you'd just become insufferably arrogant.
Yeah, and that's why the problem is people call me arrogant now. I'm not arrogant. I'm just headstrong.
Shut up. Gaggan, I think you're like running around a little bit in circles.
I've become bipolar, but I'm not going to make someone pregnant at 78.
But in a sense, you walked away from everything you'd built up. You lost even the rights to the Gaggan name. It did seem like it was over.
They accused me of stealing money. I was forced to resign and leave the country in 2 days. I was already unacceptably Indian at that moment.
You came back really out of nowhere, right?
The plan was to close Gaggan because it was an era of Gaggan, of that restaurant. It was not the end of era of me. We are opening in India.
Is that official?
It's 100% official.
So you're coming home, basically.
Coming home, yeah.
Rolling. We are with Gaggan Anand at his iconic Gaggan restaurant, one of the most difficult restaurants in the world to get into. And we're going to talk about all the things that make Gaggan great. The fact that he changed Indian food, the fact that he came out of nowhere, the fact that he had so much confidence, the fact that he was really down and out more than once in his life, when he had salaries to pay, no money in his pocket, when he'd fallen out with everyone, including his partners, and yet how he never gave up. And he's going to tell us a bit about what he thinks about the current Indian food scene, and yes, some current Indian chefs. I've said this before, I've done this before, but I never actually get tired of saying it. It's always a pleasure and an honor to interview the world's greatest Indian chef. Gaggan Anand, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Vir.
How you been?
Very good.
Still serving rats?
No more rats. We found something more interesting.
What's more interesting than a rat?
We got a nice Thai water monitor.
A water monitor is a kind of lizard, right?
Yeah, it's very close to us, Lumpini Park, full of them.
That's right, full of them, yeah.
Yeah, we're just helping the city.
So do you just go and get them, or do you forage for them?
No, we have a team, we call them King Kong.
Okay.
So we found a connection, Godzilla, King Kong, so they're good with lizards.
And this is your contribution to trying to cook with local and with what's in the environment.
Yes, first we were street to table with rats.
Yeah.
Now we are lake to table.
Now, more seriously,
More
just explain to people who are getting very, very nervous that you don't actually serve rats. But you begin by saying you're serving rats, right? When you talk about it?
Because I think sustainability is the biggest greenwashing in our industry.
Okay.
And it's like you go to a hotel and they make you feel guilty after charging all the full premium price that you should not use the towel more than one, not send it to laundry or don't put that. And in the end, what are they doing? They're just saving costs. They're not putting their money into a charity.
Yeah.
So I think in today's world where there's a lot of greenwashing, I used to give this dark messages. And that's what
you
art
don't actually have a lot of time for all this farm to table and farm to fork and everything is green and sustainable stuff. You think, while you believe in all that, you think a lot of it is bullshit, right?
Absolutely, because in third world countries like say, India, Thailand, farm to table, who governs them? Which farm is ethical? I mean, if you're living in Italy or you're living in Japan or if you're living in US, yes, you have these USDA organics and serious institutions that monitor you.
Yeah.
There's nothing to overcheck those. I can put organic on this glass or bottle and say, oh, wow, this is organic. I mean, but who checks it?
And who's going to doubt it? Yeah?
Who's going to doubt it?
Okay, so when you started serving this so-called rat, if I remember correctly, you would tell people that this is your contribution to sustainable food. You wanted to go local, and as there were no farms, you used the streets. And as the only animals you could find on the street were rats, you went with rats. Actually, they weren't really rats, were they?
No, they were never rats.
So what did you do?
Actually, we used to use ingredients that were mysterious. Like
Yeah.
I would use in spring white asparagus.
Okay.
And I think white asparagus, nobody would, because they're so involved in this crazy idea that why would I eat a rat brain?
Right.
So we play
In
on
fact,
words.
you not did a rat, you did something that looked like a brain.
Brain looked like a brain. I mean, first of all, we had one doctor
Yeah.
in 4 months who said it cannot be rat brain because the size of a rat brain
I was
is
going to
smaller.
say that should be this
Yeah, I
one.
mean, people
Yeah.
don't, because they're so into that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the wizardry of the story,
Yeah.
that you take them away from the actual ingredient and put them in this idea that they're having a rat brain and make them feel ethical.
And what I found interesting was you told people you were serving a rat brain. It looked, I suppose, like a rat brain would or whatever, but people never refused to eat it. I mean, they didn't realize they weren't actually eating rat.
Yeah,
or
and-
this was a magic trick in a way.
Absolutely.
But they ate the damn thing.
And for example, now we do lizard brain and we
Okay.
tell them
Is
now-
that at least small or even there you're
same
big?
size, it's the same mold.
Okay.
And when I tell them a lizard brain, like a lizard has properties of regeneration. So your hair will come back, you will look younger, you don't have to go to Korea for a...
And people swallow all this
And
stuff?
people love it. They love it. They just take it. I say lizard brain from Lumbini. Wow, that's a new ingredient. Yeah, I got to take it. And I think we live in this world. Like you can get away by serving something which is obnoxious and still people love it.
But sort of the many points you were making by doing this. One is that people are more gullible than we would realize. Two, that this whole business of eating reindeer heart or lizard brain has now gone too far and people think, wow, extreme eating, this is great. And three, this whole sustainability stuff has become a scam.
Full scam. I mean, now like every restaurant wants to make ants in their
Yeah.
menu. And I think that's already a scam.
Why?
Because I think one restaurant did it like 15 years back and tried to make sense out
A
of it.
restaurant in Copenhagen.
No, I mean, Ren did it.
All right, yes, sir.
Who actually, I think, took it from Alex Atala, who was the original, who actually served the first time ants, and which is very, very Amazonian. So he was not trying to do something else. But I think in Thailand, we have soup with ant eggs.
Yep.
But I think...
But that whole Laos border is
Yeah.
full of ants and various dishes.
ant eggs. And I think I saw Gordon Ramsay covering India with this ant egg chutney,
That's right, I've seen that, which
Yeah,
he
yeah.
said is a tribal dish. in
which
India.
which I've never come across.
I've never met an Indian who's eaten it, but maybe
Yeah,
we
but
don't.
yeah, that is. And then I think now Indian chefs want to put ant on the menu and say, make sense out of it. And I think that's wrong. That's like fermentation.
But you were originally one of the critics of fermentation, foraging. You had 3 Fs, I forget what they were. Fermentation, foraging, and the third one, knowing you, was probably something I can't say on,
Yeah,
on
absolutely,
camera.
yeah.
But you used to say that people used to follow these trends blindly and the audience would lap it up. And often these things emerged out of a context where there were no fresh ingredients around, etc. But in India, we just followed them because it was trendy.
Yeah, because there were books written about it.
Yeah.
And we live in an era where marketing is the hero. If we look at our Indian food, predominantly we have so many things fermented.
Yeah.
But we never use those as fermentation. We try to make these syrups and these things that are not available to our dictionary of ingredients and try to say, oh, this is from there and this is fermented. It's a great story.
Yeah.
But I think our greatest fermented cuisine is South Indian food.
That's right.
Which is idli, dosa, and fermented batters. To our pickling,
Yeah.
our achar.
Is unique. Nowhere else.
No
the world
one
is.
else has achar like that we have. I'm sad that in India, no restaurant serves fermented achar in a modern way. Or a kanji, the Punjabi national wine.
But you never, I mean, I've seen restaurants where they have jars and jars of sort of disgusting looking stuff and they tell you this is our fermentation chamber, etc. None of it really has any relevance to our reality. No?
No, it doesn't. And I think that is why I say, I mean, it's a Scandinavian philosophy done.
Yeah.
I mean, Scandinavia is first of all 6 months of no sunlight.
Right.
So you ferment in summer and you have it in winter. We are India. We are a completely different geography. And our cuisine is not a Viking cuisine that was discovered by hunting and foraging.
Yeah.
Our cuisine was based on a very strong 4,000-5,000 years of foundation of cooking. So I think it's a completely wrong idea.
But also, we have so many fresh ingredients. India is a country that values freshness. For instance, many countries, you go east, you go to the Middle East, you find perfume. In India, we rarely make perfume because we like fresh smells, fresh flowers, a garland, flowers in a lady's
Yeah,
hair.
yeah.
But the whole point of foraging is it comes from cultures where there aren't very many fresh ingredients. You have to go to the forest, pick up little
True.
things from.
Yeah.
In India, you do that, you'll die, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and for me, first of all, hunting is banned.
Yeah.
So you can't hunt in India. And if you look at our old cuisine, when hunting was allowed,
Yeah.
we had khad, ghosts, and things being hunted.
Yeah.
And that's why our cuisine evolved, because at that time, let's say a chicken
Yeah.
or a goat or any other animal that we hunted didn't taste good. It was all gamey.
Yeah.
And that's why we had this evolution of spicing and putting yogurt to tenderize those meats. My dad used to cook a chicken, it took 40 minutes. Today, a chicken cooked faster than a fish.
I was going to ask you that. Anywhere, everywhere in the world, there's now a backlash against factory-bred chickens. The fact not just that they're fed full of antibiotics, but that they're grown in boxes, they have no chance to walk, they never see the sunlight.
True.
Except in India. All these guys who go on about foraging and ants will serve a perfectly disgusting chicken.
That's
and not
exactly
even
my idea.
notice.
That's exactly the thing. The idea is not to take a free-range egg and cook that better. That's my problem. That's my problem. And I think these are the few things that I think it comes with experience. When if I was 30-year-old, I would be doing the same fermentation thing.
Yeah, but you've also seen things up close, no? You went and worked in the Noma kitchen, 15 years ago for a day?
Yeah, for one day.
Just to see what it was like?
Yeah. I was supposed to be for longer, but I think...
What?
I think I think I didn't belong there.
In what way?
Because I'm a creep. So I think I didn't belong there because I came from Melbuli.
Yeah.
And that became my...
But so did Rene Redzepi.
It's true. But he went his own direction.
Yeah.
And at that time, when I took his forage ingredients and put in my mouth, it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to dilute what I've learned from Melbuli. So I kept my purist idea towards Elbuli. And I wanted to use Elbuli to improve my own cuisine with Indian background. And I think I did that. And if I would have gone that day and spent 15 days in Noma, maybe I would have been in fermentation and trying to sell you that a garam of a mushroom is better than a khichdi.
A fresh mushroom.
A fresh mushroom probably.
Okay, you've brought up El Bulli. So I want to talk a bit about your journey. It's fair to say, I think that when you started out pretty conventionally. You went to catering college in Kerala, right?
Yes, Kerala. Trivandrum,
You
yeah.
joined the Taj group. You would have done okay in the Taj until one day you changed your mind. What happened?
I think I just... it's very close to your house, the Taj Mansingh.
Yeah.
And there's this round chakkar. There's a flower guy. You take one to Khan Market, one to India Gate, and one to Taj Mansingh.
That's
and
right.
I went round 3 times
Were you on a bike?
on my bike, and I thought, go, don't go, and I took a U-turn and went back to where I was. And then after that, I never went back. I didn't have I think Taj still owes me my Provident Fund.
Yeah, but it was a very difficult scheme to get into, the Taj training scheme. From all accounts, people who were in your batch,
I mean, there were just 20 of us.
yeah, say that you were a bit mad, but you were always gifted. And yet you just turned your back on that. Why?
I don't know. Again, I say I didn't belong there. I didn't belong to something that is robotic culture in a kitchen, which means
You call a hotel kitchen robotic? Why?
Absolutely. Because they don't have creativity process. There's one guy deciding everything,
Yeah.
and then it's a ladder process. And for example, if you're in a 3-star Michelin restaurant in Paris, you have a guy who's probably peeling,
Yeah.
and then he came from dishwashing and peeling and doing the worst job in the kitchen. And next day he starts cooking, and then he goes through different sections.
Right.
And then his head chef is also cooking.
Right.
So that means he's a 3-star chef who's cooking, and then the other chef is looking up to the 3-star chef. But in India, the moment you cross cooking and you go through the management process, you're on the computer looking at costs.
It's an interesting thing, no? In India, people join these training programs. They're taught what they should have been taught in catering college. They make the rounds of kitchens. They dream of becoming executive chefs. Then they sit in their offices with computers and never cook anything in their lives.
Never.
It's a bizarre situation.
It's a
if
very
you
big-
think
I think
about it.
that is the problem that I find in hotels in India. And that's why you see there's a trend outside India where hotels have understood, some hotels, that they need chefs who have established themselves as great cooks,
Yeah.
and to open restaurants with them. Like look at Mauro Calagreco
Yeah.
or
Ducasse?
or other French chefs,
Yeah.
or even I always say one of your favorites is the Japanese guy
Nobu.
Nobu. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he came from F&B, established chef, and opened into hotels. And I think the connection of that we lose in India because somebody in the hotel at a high position doing a white collar job ate in some restaurant in somewhere, came back and said, let's do Peruvian cuisine. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do Peruvian cuisine. And none of the cooks have ever thought, I think 90% of the cooks will not even know in geographically where Peru is.
Peru is a fruit.
Yeah, Peru is a fruit, yeah. So I think that's the disconnect. And that's when you go and eat and the guy standing to express you, we have Peruvian food, please, Nikkei food. And you put it in your mouth and say, wow, what a disaster.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and that is the problem in hotels in India. And I think, okay, you try to get one of the famous Indian London chefs coming and opening back who doesn't understand India because the person left India 15 years, 20, 30 years back. So I think that is a disconnect.
That doesn't always work. I know of one very highly rated Indian chef who opened a really expensive restaurant at the Hyatt in Delhi for a month, and he filled it up for every day, night after night. And though he left India a long time ago, I thought he wasn't bad.
I think, I think that was lucky charm. I think I always say
So
that.
if you don't know, that's Gaggan. He did a whole month at the Hyatt in Delhi.
Yeah, I think that was a point to prove.
What was the point to prove?
One, that I'm a one-hit wonder.
Okay.
That means sometimes I come and do a pop-up and it's one day, one hit, it's full, sold out. So I broke that boundary. Secondly, I broke the price barrier boundary, which made
Yeah.
at a...
Nobody ever charged so much.
So much,
And
and-
maybe if they had, they'd done it for one dinner, two dinners.
Yeah, true.
Not for a month.
month.
Of two sittings.
Yeah. And I think one, that, two, that. And third, I think it was a joke because I asked the owner of the hotel, he said, I wanted to cook with our hotel for 1 month. I said, okay, this is the price. I said, yes. And then Vladimir sitting next to me kicked me, said, you should have said more, So,
Vladimir, of course, is our friend and your sommelier.
Yeah, and sommelier. And he said, you should have said more. I said, oh shit, yeah, we said more. And I think those are the things that I had to do. And I think I did that at that time because it was post-COVID.
Yeah.
If you ask me, I would do it again, no.
You closed this restaurant to go and do it.
Yeah, so it was a big risk.
But it was once in a lifetime type thing.
Once in a lifetime, yeah.
But I want to talk about when you left Taj and you wandered off, you had no real fixed employment. You've done all kinds of things, from sending food to Nagaland to doing lunch boxes. I mean, there's no real pattern to your career until you come to Bangkok, right?
Until I come to Bangkok and until I open Gaggan. I mean,
you open in Bangkok, you work in an Indian restaurant where you have owners who you're not wild about. And the stories, you can tell me if this is right or wrong, when the owners told you what to do, you took masala and you made a line.
Yeah, red chili.
Yeah. And you made a line in the kitchen.
Because the restaurant was
and
called
said,
Red, so
Saleh, you can't come beyond this. This is right.
There's a Lakshman Rekha.
Yeah, so this is right.
Yeah, I did that, yeah. And I was not famous then.
Yeah,
and they called me arrogant after being famous.
You were a nobody.
Yeah, and that's why the problem is people call me arrogant now. I'm not arrogant. I'm just headstrong and stubborn. And I think...
But I mean, you can be arrogant and headstrong, no?
Yes, true.
Yes, as you proved. But
Yeah,
still,
yeah. I mean, people... And I think this is something we discussed long time back, about 10 years back. And then when people complained that fame made me arrogant, and you said he was always...
He was always an asshole.
He was always an asshole. Yeah, and I think I thought that outside India, food predominantly looks modern in a French way.
Yeah.
That was the problem in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
In London especially.
Yeah.
And I thought that Indian food, I could take a khichdi or a bisi bela bhat and just to make it look like a risotto and serve it like a khichdi.
I'm trying to remember the name of your restaurant. It was
Red.
Red,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, Red, yeah.
I met an Italian who lived in Bangkok. You were not that famous. And he told me, go to this restaurant. There's an Indian chef. He served me a risotto. And it's the best risotto I had. It had spices in it. I said, you fool, it was a khichdi. He said, what is a khichdi? I said, he probably didn't tell you that. But it's a typical Indian dish.
Yes. And I think that was the starting of me understanding India in a way that I was. And that's why I'm very happy that I could not finish management training in Taj. I'm so happy. I mean,
Well, you could have been an executive chef.
I would have been Kunal. He was my batchmate. I could be Kunal from MasterChef.
Ranveer was also your batch.
Yes, he was my senior.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was one of the reasons why I left, but
Okay. All right.
I can say it now.
Okay, because he was so talented and you couldn't compete.
No, he was so talented. He was full of knowledge. I was so underwhelmed with him. So
So that's actually very unfair to a very good chef. But let's go on and let's talk a bit about one of your contributions to Indian cuisine, which I don't think is sufficiently recognized, which is Indian chefs went abroad, did well. Some of them got Michelin stars.
yeah.
But the principle was you have to sell wine. So to sell wine to make money in the restaurant, you have to Frenchify the food. It must come on a plate. It must look like French food. Then people will think it's fancy and they will drink wine and you will make money. You are the first successful Indian chef to do modern Indian food and to say go to hell to French cuisine and just do it your own way.
I think right things happen at the right time.
Explain that.
For me, like, luckily I went to Lebua
Yeah.
after Red, and Deepak was kind enough that he could offer me the job on the same
That's
day.
Deepak Ori, who was the
Deepak,
CEO of
yes, at that time. And he gave me an immediate, like, I resigned, or I was forced to resign and leave the country in 2 days.
by these
By the
people
red-
who you put a
Yeah,
red
I
chili
still have the
lime.
letter. Yeah, it's going to be my.
They said leave the country in 2 days.
in 2 days. Yeah,
And then?
and pack up and leave. And that's completely illegal, but you have to know law to understand it. I joined Deepak, who protected me, of course. He's good in that. And I wanted to open this modern Indian restaurant in Lebua.
Okay.
And Suring was there. Twins were there too.
That's right.
Yeah,
They
at the
ran
same time.
Mezzaluna.
They opened at Mezzaluna, and I was in the
you were supposed to take the coffee shop and turn into a modern Indian
modern
restaurant.
Indian cuisine. And
I remember that.
and I presented them modern food, which I could not associate with them. And
Of
then,
course, yeah.
of course, when you do a job, and again you're a hotel, and then you're looking at how many eggs are being broken, cost, butter, blah blah blah. I bored out,
Yeah.
and then was my break.
But I want to discuss that because the general view is that Gaggan Anand was this Indian chef. He got this break. He went and worked with Ferran Adria, and that changed his way of looking at Indian food. That's only partly true. The reason you went to work with Ferran Adria was because you were already doing different kinds of Indian food. You were already doing un-French modern Indian food, and you were looking for new ways of expression. So it isn't that because you went and worked with the Adrias, you changed as a chef. You were already on that road.
No, I was already unacceptably Indian at that moment. And I think I looked beyond the platter of Indian cuisine at that time.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do kebabs. I didn't want to do things like that. So there were a lot of disconnect with me and Indian restaurant food at that time.
Yeah.
And I think I was following El Bulli
Yeah.
and how they broke away from dominant French cuisine.
Yeah. And they
So-
created a completely rival school which eclipsed French cuisine at that
Yes. And at that time, I mean, French cuisine dominated
Yeah.
the world. And I think El Bulli was the first to be a rebel in that part. And I
time.
thought,
Is that story true that you decided you would go and work with the Adrias and you called and they wouldn't pick up the phone? You kept calling? Is that
yeah, 20 times.
how many times?
20 times.
20 times.
The 20
Nobody-
times, nobody. There was an answering machine. And I called every half an hour
Okay.
because I knew it's a time zone. So I slept at 4
Arrogant,
a.m.
stubborn, and persistent. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
And-
think I keep calling. And then somebody calls in English and then said to call Alicia. And then in Alicia, the girl who picked up, she was married to a Nepali.
Okay.
So she spoke to me and that was my advantage. And she immediately said, you call me back in 2 days. And then she helped me translate everything that I spoke
Into Spanish.
into Spanish. And in 2 days, I got an offer letter.
You know, everybody said when you came back and you opened the first Gaggan restaurant that he's a molecular chef. That was only a part of what you did. I remember walking into your restaurant when you were in Soy Long Swan, and there were many influences. The dish that actually defined what you were doing and is now the most famous modern Indian dish in the world, which you'll probably get a little later, is the yogurt explosion.
True.
The technology required to do that, I don't think the Adrias could have done at that stage because you had milk with calcium, etc. So a lot of that was you, no?
So our DNA as an Indian, there's nothing more tasty than a yogurt. We don't look at lactose intolerance or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We just love
Love
yogurt.
the
And I can also challenge that there's no tastier spherification ever done than the yogurt I've done. I can say this after 15 years of doing what I'm doing. But in this 15 years of Gaggan, when I first did the dish, there was no insight. I only knew a technique, how it works. And that's why I was in El Bulli, where Farhan told me, use my technique to change your cuisine.
Yeah,
so I
right.
think the idea came at 1 o'clock and I ran to 7-Eleven and it just happened. It's a eureka moment.
No.
It's a eureka moment. And I think when you discover something so rooted to your country and you can modernize it by using a technique that Farhan Arya
Invented.
not him, but Pera Castells, who was his head of R&D and chemistry and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And Pera invented that in his garage kitchen. When Pera was my guru at that time, he had explained me what are the steps. If I reverse engineer it, I could do it. So I went to 7-Eleven, I bought the yogurt, I did it, and it worked. And when it worked, I said, wow, done.
Genius, apart from the technical stuff about spherification, is using the chart flavor. No?
Of course, because once you are getting the know-how right that you can do yogurt, then you can put anything. And it took us 2 years
But
to...
it's basically Chaatwala meets El Bulli, which now seems okay, but in those days was an impossible
And that's the
combination.
thing. I mean, when people serve you jhag or foam or blah, 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 they don't understand the root of it. My stage at El Bulli or Alicia Foundation was not about learning their recipes, was learning how they think,
Yeah.
how their techniques. So that's the reason why I could break down those things and use it to my advantage.
Yeah, but also, I mean, the Adrias had a huge role at that stage of your life, but they were not your only influences. I remember walking into the restaurant and one of your dishes was a tribute to Thomas Keller.
True.
Yeah, so you were looking all over for inspiration.
I think I was looking for how the chefs think in that era
Yeah.
and how I can change my food with that. And I think in India, we have strong heritage of food. I think the strongest diversity. I mean, there are diversities in France and Italy, but they're micro diversity. And thirdly, what I think is in India, we have microclimates.
Yeah.
People call seasonality as 4 different seasons. I call seasonality as every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because our black carrots
Yeah.
or our cholia or certain types of methi that are only for that week, that harvest. So we don't use
Even our mutter, that's one of the things we're losing.
Yeah.
We don't have that sense of seasonality when we cook now.
No. So I think my mom taught me micro seasonality.
Okay.
That means in February, 2 weeks, we have this ingredient. So kanji will only be made on that 2 weeks. And then you can't make it in summer.
Right.
So I think these few things have taught me how to cook better. Because I understand, I can come back to the kitchen and say, hey, it's end of this week. That's it. Next week, improvise. And I think this is how my cuisine is evolved. My taste buds have always been like that, nostalgic. So I just put my this root into modernism.
Yeah. But I remember people say that it took time. It took no time. I walked into your restaurant, Long Swan, but a few months after you'd opened, you were full.
Second month, yeah.
Second month. You were already full. I had to go away and you were kind
January,
enough to,
yeah.
you were kind enough to give
Actually,
me a
I
tip.
directed you to, because we didn't have coffee machine, so I directed you the Starbucks.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but you were successful from the word go. How? In a location, Long Swan, where there's never been an Indian restaurant, which was then one of the trendiest streets in Bangkok, doing unheard of food. Nobody had ever done Indian food like this. How come it suddenly took off?
I think it's destiny. It's like, I always say it's like a rock band. 4 guys come together, pick up a guitar and make a jam session, and suddenly they hit the right note. And then,
But you were all 4 guys. I mean, you were one guy, no?
I mean, I wish it was like Freddie Mercury and the Queen.
But
the
it wasn't,
problem-
no?
It wasn't. It was not.
It was like Elvis exploding on the scene
Yeah.
or Dylan exploding on the scene.
Yeah. It was that kind of a thing. So
Were you surprised? Because you'd been successful, but you never had this level of success.
I think there were eras, because my first 3 years was self-discovery.
Yeah.
So we started with naan breads, we started with chicken tikka masalas and butter chicken and curries. We were playing safe.
In fact, that first menu had curries. I remember that.
Yes, yeah.
Good ones. I remember that too.
And I think we should do a truffle naan in
Yep.
2010 and all, and blue cheese naan
Right.
and blah, blah, blah. We played on that fusion modernism. But the moment I got success, I started to part away from that safe zone.
Yeah.
And I think then fame caught me up, because once you get famous, you are being judged.
When did you realize you were famous?
I think when you wrote.
Shut up.
Yeah, I mean, 2010,
everybody wrote about you. I was just
you're the first
one
person.
of many people.
No, I'm not trying to. I think it was 2011 January,
Yeah.
February. On the
around.
third week.
Yeah,
It
something,
was
yeah.
my birthday
My God.
week, and you wrote, and within one day, Time magazine also.
John Critch wrote in Time, Time
yeah.
magazine.
Yeah, and it came on the same time, and Time magazine had this Dinners by Heston, and the next column was Gaggan, and I think that was the biggest hit immediately.
I want to make this clear. People say it made you famous, but it didn't. You were already running a restaurant that was full. There was no way you could have got more covers because of us.
I think 15 years back, we live in an era where your pen mattered. 15 years
15 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and now
of course, who gives
now
a fuck?
21-year-old with 5 million followers, who's a complete fucking bimbo,
Yeah.
has more authority over food.
Yeah, but that's the world we live in.
Yeah, and I think the world has changed, but I have not changed.
You have. Your food is different from what
Of
it was.
course, my food is completely is to that advantage of.
But you've never actually changed. As I keep saying, when people say he's become arrogant, you've always been like this. You've always been very sure of what you want to do.
True.
Very unwilling to let people discourage you. And
True.
even when people tell you what you're doing is wrong, you go ahead and do it if you think it's right.
And I think that is what I've learned is my leadership skills.
Yeah.
I often take wrong decisions, and I rather regret doing something and losing than rather not doing and regretting.
True. Fair enough.
So that is how I think. And
You became successful then. You're talking about 2011. You just opened. Within months, you knew you were a success?
true. And I think I have successfully converted my first month guest to second month.
Yeah.
And it was word of mouth. And second month to third month to fourth month, and fourth month to 4 years. So
Yeah,
I
but all
think
kinds of people. I remember Sonu Shivdasani walked in and told me, have you been to this incredible restaurant? I must tell you to go. And I said, oddly enough, I have. So
Yeah.
all kinds of, Vicky Oberoi asked me about it.
Yes.
All kinds of people were talking about you immediately.
yeah, and Vicky came because Mandarin Oriental told him that this is the new restaurant, you should go.
Yeah.
So I
And
think,
Vicky hardly ever goes to restaurants. So it was
and
really
and I had to give him a paper of a A4. Of course, working with my ex-partners everything was slowed down. So I had to give us A4 printed paper. I have a signed copy of Vicky Oberoi.
Really?
Yeah, I took his signature. I said, please, sir, sign for me.
And the
And he
A4
said, are you ex-Oberoi? I said, I'm sorry, ex. And he said, why not Oberoi? I said, you rejected me.
They did?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. In
You
the
were
final-
interviewed by them?
Finals.
And what happened?
I don't know. I had a midlife crisis. I broke up with my girlfriend, so I was like in a different zone.
This is your
1
girlfriend?
day before, yeah.
So what, did you insult them or that came
No, I
later?
couldn't answer. I was zoomed.
That's very unlike you.
Yeah, unlikely, completely unlikely. I was so good. I went to the finals, and 1 day before she dumped me, and I was like completely like a what do you call Romeo kind of a person. Like, what do you think about cream and cheese? They're both same. So,
Are you still in touch with this lady who dumped you?
oh, she was my ex-wife. So, and then I come back,
you-
and that's a
Then
revenge.
you came back and married her.
Yeah.
And then broke up again.
And then she was working in Rajvilas, so I used to go to Rajvilas and eat the staff food.
Oh, really? So,
Yeah, so many
there
stories.
was an Oberoi connection.
There was always Oberoi connection.
Okay.
So I told him I love Rajvilas. He said, why? I said, my ex-wife used to work there.
By the time you were reasonably famous all over Asia, you came back to India to cook. I remember you cooked for Sanjay Menon's Indian Wine Society
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
Four Seasons.
True.
And people were completely startled.
First time.
In Mumbai. And people were startled. Nobody believed that Indian food could be like this. In the time you'd been away and you went back to India, what did you think had happened to Indian chefs and Indian food? Had it improved? Was it the same?
I am very proud of current wave of new chefs.
Yeah, that is now. And then what did you think?
At that time, I didn't think India was ready for modernism.
Okay.
At that time, India was busy with fake sushis and
That still happens, huh?
yeah. And I think at that time when I came with a courage that I will cook in India and not try to show off who we are, but try to tell them that look what we have done. And I think that was the attitude we took from the first time.
But it's odd because while you were a bit of an asshole and arrogant with everybody else, with other chefs, you were always very good and willing to teach, willing to learn. For instance, Arvind Saraswat, who ran the Taj management program that you walked out of. You listen to the way you talked about him those days and still talk about him.
Yeah, I still
Nobody
think
would think you would walked out of that
I mean,
program
he was the first
because
guy,
he was making you a robot. No?
Yeah, and I asked him the difference between a white asparagus and a green asparagus, and he explained me it's under the ground.
Yeah.
So I think Arvind Saraswat is one of the main chefs of India who created so many eras of chefs, I think.
And so many chefs came from
him. And I think
But then, for instance, Manish Mehrotra, who was sort of starting out same time, you were very nice to him. So whatever we may have thought about you as people who interviewed you, with chefs, you were always different.
true. I mean, I still respect Manjeet Singh Gill, even if I'm not from ITC.
Yeah.
He's really changed Indian food. And I think he's one of the most important chefs in India.
Yeah.
And same is for Satish Arora. I mean, there were three pillars, I would say, of Indian cuisine.
And you've always like that. So it wasn't that you were arrogant with chefs. You were willing to learn, you were willing to acknowledge it, you were willing to respect them.
I think my problem is not with chefs. My problem is when I meet someone and the energy is not right, I feel wrong.
What does that mean?
It means like sometimes people come and say, like for example, there was this Thai lady and she said, I don't like Indian food, but I like your food. I kicked her out of my restaurant. She was the first guest, I kicked her out.
You kicked her out.
I said, I don't want to serve you anymore.
That's a bit extreme, no? Why?
Because she said, like, I don't like Indian food. But
So
I
she's
like
not
your
right
food.
not to like Indian food.
I at that time I was young
Yeah.
and I took it very sensitively. I would have not done it now. I didn't understand that she was trying to praise me. But the praise came as like, I don't like Thai food, but I like you as a chef.
Whereas you thought the two were the same thing, Indian food and
me.
what you were doing. Which was important because it was an important identifier. Though what you do now, often many of the dishes are not necessarily recognizably Indian. In your mind, everything is Indian.
I mean, look at today. I mean, there are at least 5 famous Indian restaurants in Bangkok.
There are 5?
5, I think, 4 or 5 big ones.
Who?
There's Hauma, Indi by my ex. There is Ga.
Yeah.
And then there is Jol. They're not all Michelin recognized, but they are like, and I love Amritsar. It's in every corner. It's like a curry house, which is
Okay.
also very well. So I think 19 years of being in Bangkok, I must say that one thing I've accomplished is to make sure that Indian food is a little more popular.
But not just in Bangkok, all over Asia. No?
I mean, that is a separate question. But for
Because you
me,
were number 1 chef in a restaurant in India, what, 5 years in a row?
yeah,
In Asia, 5 years in a row?
4 years in a row and now again.
Now again, 5th year. So that's a record, no?
I know. It's no more a pressure. It's more of like this time when we got like this year as number 1, I think it's radical to have a 14-seat restaurant and being so radical in our way and selling rat brains to the people's face.
Now lizard.
And now lizard. And now they like it because we're number 1. They say, yeah, that's a lizard. But last year they said, why rat brain? Go back to Google. Serve. They served us rat brain. They didn't even fucking read the menu. They're so blinded by us. And that works.
Yeah.
That works. So I think us getting back to number one was that people telling me that they were responsible for my success in my last decade. And that was a big no to them.
Who said that to you?
All my exes.
All your exes?
All my exes.
Okay.
Personal and professional. And secondly, nobody could claim that I made him.
Yeah.
And thirdly, to be relevant in an era where it's not about cooking.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, look at today's era. Chefs are very busy doing pop-ups.
So you.
I do 2 a year now. And I
Come
think
on, every time I call you're in Korea, you're in South Africa, you're cooking there.
actually I did 2 in India this time.
Yeah.
1 in South Africa, 1 in Colombia, and 1 in Dubai.
That's already more than 2, by the way.
Yeah, 2 in India.
Okay, yeah.
But, and that's already a lot for me, 5 or 6. But
Plus, you go to Tomorrowland and all these places.
I used to.
Now, no?
No more. Now they're coming to me. I think one of my New Year resolutions is from that now on, I will never cook outside my restaurant.
That's mad. Why would you do that? You've got a 14-cover restaurant. Why would you deny people the opportunity to eat your food?
Like this time I cooked in India with Inja and with Varun.
Yeah.
Is because
Varun and Mask.
It is like if I go to Farhan and say, Farhan, cook with me, he will say no.
He doesn't cook anyway now, no?
That's another thing. Or Heston or any of my admired chefs.
So you don't want to be like unapproachable.
Yeah. So I don't want to be unapproachable. When Varun or Inja,
his name is Advait.
Advait, yeah, I forgot his name. So
Go
sorry.
on.
Yeah, so Advait or Varun asked me to cook with him, and of course next year I will do it. So I don't want to cook outside my restaurant, but I will definitely cook with Hussein.
Okay.
Because I promised him. So I think it's and also with.
I think it's worth making the point about Hussein that when he was not so well known and he only had
and we had together with Bombay Canteen.
and you said to me this was O Pedro.
Yeah.
And you said to me, this guy is amazing, and you called him and you said, will you come to Bangkok and cook with us?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and we were supposed to do that until I break up.
And then then the restaurant closed. But
Yeah.
you spotted him quite early.
Yes. And I think I owe the respect they give me back to them. That's a philosophy. So, of course, sometimes I make.
But that's a new development. No? You didn't necessarily respect Indian chefs earlier.
But then they got my respect because they do their things in their way. I mean, they are all, I mean, look at it from north, from Pratik,
Yeah.
to south, to Bangalore, to Farmlore, not just Delhi
You've not
and
eaten
Bombay.
any of these places. No? Have you eaten at Farmlore?
I have actually, my problem is that when I go to
Answer
this.
no. So have you eaten at Nar?
I'm not eating
Oh, so
even
then you're just being nice to people. No?
Yes, because when I go to Bangalore, I want to eat at that military kitchen. When I
Yeah,
go
I understand that. But all I'm saying is you haven't actually eaten these.
No, I'm not. But I've eaten at India and I've
For
eaten
instance,
at.
if you went to Farmlore.
I would eat when I cook there. Yes, of course, I have to eat.
Yeah, but if you went there, he'd put ants on the food. Huh?
Okay,
and then
good.
you could give him the same lecture you gave us earlier.
I would definitely give that lecture. I give that because I think.
And if you went to eat with Pratik, there would be jars of fermented things also. And you can again give the same lecture.
Well, Pratik is from that era of Noma, fermentation, foraging. And his whole restaurant is based on that.
Yeah.
So I think I have respect for him because he is so crazy to do somewhere and you have to go there as if you're going to Favaken.
True.
I remember the restaurant in Sweden. Like
Yeah.
you can't go there. You have to just go there just to eat there. And he was brave enough to do that.
Favaken closed down.
Yeah. So I think I hope.
So I'm not sure that's the best example, but still.
Yeah, but that was that's dreams, right? They are dreams that people go for. So I think if he's finally doing it, people appreciate it, it's fine.
This is a change of position from I really respect what he's doing with food to if people appreciate it, it's fine.
I think
Gaggan, I think you're like running around a little bit in circles.
I've become bipolar.
Yeah, you
have.
have become okay. But listen, the point you're making more generally, forgetting individuals, is that Indian chefs have changed. They're more daring. They've broken out of their comfort zone, and there's a lot to admire there.
Absolutely. I think this standalone restaurants movement in India is huge.
Yeah.
And you have more female chefs coming out and being good cooks also. Some are good, some are hit and miss.
Who's good?
I think for me, Varun is great.
Female chefs.
Female, I had hope at the girl from Eka, Niyati.
Niyati, she's good.
Yeah, she was good. Yeah, I don't know
She's
why.
very good. Have you actually been there, eaten her food?
Yes, I've eaten at Eka.
Oh, that's okay. All right.
I've eaten, yeah.
Okay, then where else?
Yeah, I've eaten Eka. And then I still like one of your favorites and I want to cook with her. Now, that's not a pop-up. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's to cook with Doma Wang. So I can tell it, Doma, would you cook with me? First, I'll cook in Calcutta with you and then you can come here and cook.
I'm sure she's watching this and she'd be thrilled to hear that.
Yeah, and I think because I do momos.
And because she's not like a trendy chef, so you still want to cook with her.
Yeah, and or for example, I was in London in summer.
Yeah.
And I went to eat at Asma's restaurant.
Okay.
And she was there. And the funny thing was I didn't tell her.
Okay.
And Asma is also same batchmate of my cousin. So we know through different. They were at the Loretta House in Calcutta and blah blah
You're
blah.
both Calcutta people,
Yeah,
right?
Calcutta people. So I was like, so I said, okay, I'll go to Asma's restaurant, sit there. I somehow got a
Darjeeling
table.
Express for people.
Darjeeling
who don't know,
Express, yeah.
In London, off Carnaby Street. Go
Yes. So at the Darjeeling Express, I got a table.
on. You
and
booked what, a false name?
Yeah, false name, and sat, and nobody knew me in the restaurant, so it was great. And then Asma walked into the restaurant from a business meeting. I said, "Hello." I said, yeah. I said, okay. I said, and then things changed
Yeah.
after that meal, and then people start realizing, and I don't look like my Netflix character now.
You look that different?
I think, I look younger there, and people don't, 10
You
year
were
old,
younger
yeah,
then, so
yeah,
it's
and
not
10-year-old episodes, so people don't watch it. And then Asma and everybody, like the whole. So I think Asma is not a chef, trained chef, but she's done something incredible with what she does.
She's elevated our home cooking and made it a famous cuisine.
Yes, and I still like her Bengali Muslim food that she does. So it was good, and I think that is the female chefs that I admire in India.
Wonderful. Okay. Asma,
Asma
who's not in India. Then.
and Doma.
Okay. All right. And the men chefs, who do you admire?
I mean, name chefs. The problem is that I can't identify one yet.
Really?
No, look, I'm thinking who.
Think.
Yeah.
We'll wait.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking. I tried to make one. She became a celeb chef. So, yeah. And then you have a cookie jar.
That's an interesting story in the sense that Garima Arora had worked at Noma, was very well liked at Noma, but came back to India, and you guys picked her up. You made her train at the original Gaggan restaurant, and you were going to open in Mumbai, and you were going to put her in charge. This is long before the world had recognized her. So what did you see then?
I found a female chef who survived Noma Kitchen for 3 years.
Which is a big deal.
That's a big deal.
And she was a chef, not a stagiaire.
And she was not a chef. She was not just like all the other Indians who get Noma certificate. And one was that. Secondly, I invest in chefs who have personalities.
Yeah.
They are 10 times better cooks than me in the kitchen. But
a chef and a cook are different things. Huh?
True. And a chef needs to be a leader, personality.
And the ideas.
So I think Garima had the right package. And she's a great speaker.
She's very shy, actually. She's not like you.
I mean, she has her own personality. And I always say, like, my job is to give opportunity. And then it's their life.
And then you guys opened a restaurant for her opposite the old Gaggan, right?
Yeah. And
which now continues in different location with 2 stars.
Yes. And I think that's her journey. That's her credit. And I'm very happy for her. And good, she's find her way. And she has a catering company. She has a mithai shop in Bangkok.
And she has 2 restaurants in India.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Thai cuisine. That's a little surprise, but...
Well, you live in Bangkok so long, I guess you pick it up.
Yes.
But that's one side of you that's not so well known, no? Because people think of you as saying other chefs are idiots. Actually, you've mentored a lot of chefs. And you've gone out of your way to help people.
Sometimes, again, I said, I try to do things that are futuristic. Today, Suring is 3-star and the only German 3-star outside the world of Germany.
Tell me the story of Suring, which is a phenomenal success story. And I know that when they got their 3 stars, they said something about you. So tell me what happened.
Suring was my first investment outside Gaggan.
You knew the Surings from Le Bois, where they were the chefs at Mezzaluna, right?
Yes.
And then?
They were my friends from 2008. So they called me. They said they want to meet me over a coffee. And I remember we went to the Starbucks near Gaggan. And I was at that time already in the bad books of my exes because I opened Meat
By
Licious.
exes this time, you're not meaning...
Professional
You're meaning
ex.
partners in the
Professional ex.
In the non-personal sense. Yeah, okay.
Partners. My ex-partners. Business partners. And I opened Meat Licious without them.
Yeah.
Which was a phenomenal success. It broke even in 4 months.
Which was the steakhouse in Superman.
Steakhouse, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is no more existing because it's been replicated 100 times in
That's
Bangkok
right.
already. So I had opened Meat Licious. So I was already a rebel from my ex-partners. Because people don't understand. From 2015 onwards, I was unhappy.
Yeah.
People don't understand this problem.
Why were you unhappy? Because you never really talked about what went wrong. It was a major
I
event.
resigned in 2016.
So why were you unhappy? Because you had this top restaurant, Asia's #1 restaurant. You were in line to become world #1. And then suddenly from the outside, it looks like you threw it all away. What happened?
I was unhappy because I wanted the restaurant to be smaller. I wanted us to do less covers.
You are the guy who went and opened the lab and all that. So
Yeah. And
you made it bigger.
yeah, I wanted lab to be lab as what I am doing now. And I wanted Gaggan to be a very small 30-seat restaurant.
Which is roughly what you ended up doing.
Yeah.
So then?
And I think we had a disconnect. I don't agree that a owner of a restaurant who doesn't cook should go to the award stage and take an award.
That happens all the time, Yura.
Yes. Only with Indian restaurants.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Only with Indian restaurants. Yeah. Very few restaurants in the world you can see, oh, the owner is there to take their award.
But I've seen restaurants where the owner goes up, Indian restaurants, and the chef is nowhere in sight.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that is where the disconnect started.
So then?
And then it was, Suring came to me. They said, help us.
You were still at that
Yeah.
stage with your exes, as you call them. Yeah.
So I found opportunity. I said, okay, they have the talent to.
It was a little more complicated. No, Gaggan? They'd left Le Bois. They'd put all their savings into a restaurant.
They wanted me to pay their credit card bill.
They had run out of money. They had no money to pay credit
I
card
had
bill.
to transfer the
And they
money that evening so that they could put their credit card bill.
Yeah, so
And it was exactly my situation. I felt that I was, when opening Gaggan, from Le Bois, my ex-partners made sure that I was in debt with them. So that it's like that old school farmer Sindhi philosophy. He let him be in debt, so he will be...
leave the Sindhi element out of it, but you're saying that whole bonded labor idea.
Yeah, bonded labor idea. So I make sure that he's in debt. So whatever he feels in debt to me.
Okay.
Which I didn't. Which I played very well.
But why would anybody feel you were in anybody's debt when you made people so rich?
I think it's a very old school thinking. And it goes back to me personally because my dad was always in debt.
I know that.
And I think I took that as... That's why I never take things on loan.
I know that.
And I think it was more personal to me that I will never take... Even when I took a house, I bought a condominium or anything, I want to pay off the loan. So I was not a good customer of a bank because they wanted to give me 20 years loan and I would pay back in 1 year.
That's true.
So I think that itself is a psych in my head. And I felt that Suring was literally... They needed my help. And what is the point of success that you can't help your friends?
And look what's happened.
And I think that time I had the opportunity to be 50% partner.
Yeah.
I gave 35% stake, 34% stake to my ex-partners. And look how much money they got after building and getting out of it.
Yeah, true.
So this is goodwill.
Nobody's actually understood why you broke up, why you threw it all away, why you walked away from Gaggan. I know you made hints about it and you said that your partners wanted to regard themselves as being responsible for food, but that's not enough, no?
You know, the funny thing was, it's such a strong memory. Do you remember that you were at Vet sitting with me and we came and we just had dinner and my partner was sitting
Vet was the bar you had next door.
Yeah. And my partner was sitting behind.
I remember that.
That was the night I broke up.
Why? I hope I wasn't responsible.
No, you were not at all
So
responsible. It was just like, it's such a strong memory.
What happened?
They accused me of stealing money. Yes. Nobody talks about it. And when they accused me, the problem was the accountant they hired from India was stealing on my name.
Oh my God. Okay.
Which they only realized 6 months after closing the restaurant. That's why all the wrong things I say about them, they have no courage to come and face me.
But they really called you a thief, said you were stealing money.
Yeah. In a system that was put by them, and they were stealing the money.
So then?
I think when it's the last little string in that.
Yeah.
That
Which unravels the whole thing.
Which is the last little string, and that if that string is broken, what's the point of being together? We've been there for 10 years, and now you realize that I'm stealing money. I just think it
was that the I thought the problem was you'd just become insufferably arrogant.
I think there were a few things like if I was a brand ambassador of Miele appliances, they wanted Miele appliances in their home, and that was,
But that's a small thing.
This is few small little things that keep growing and keep growing and keep growing, and I became more close to Vladimir and Rido, and other people.
Vladimir Sommelier, Rido's your right
Now
hand
they're
man.
my business partners.
Yeah,
and
now
they-
your business partner, but Rido has been the right hand man in the kitchen for as long as I can remember.
Yeah,
The
and-
backbone of Gaggan.
Yeah, and I think there are very weird things that were happening, and I think, when you feel that the trust is gone,
Yeah.
what's the point of a relationship?
But listen, as a result of breaking up with them, hey, look, we're going to talk about this in a minute ago. Though we've already talked about it. This is your most famous dish.
Yeah.
But when you close that restaurant, in a sense, I mean, I know that the entire staff came with you, etc. But in a sense, you walked away from everything you'd built up. You lost even the rights to the Gaggan name. You still did that.
I actually didn't even knew when I resigned that I didn't knew Gaggan was on. I was actually trying to register, and they said they had registered me in 2013. Very smart of them.
Yep.
So I personally think that I am a guy who cannot be tamed. I cannot be domesticated. I'm not a pet.
Yeah.
I'm a wild animal. I like my freedom. I like to be in my jungle. And whenever I feel it's in personal relationship, in financial relationship, in a business relationship, if I feel that I am being domesticated, that's the where I completely run away from it. And that's the problem of everything that happened. My relationship with my ex-wife, my relationship with my ex-partners, it can happen to a personal relationship, it can happen to with my chef, anybody. And it happens often. It happens because people don't understand me, who I am. That's why Rido and Vladimir, those people who work with me, they work with me for 15 years.
Yeah.
And those who don't work with me, they can't work with me for 15 days. It's because this is who I am. If I am such an independent person. Like, look who I am. Now, I waited to get my name back. So I am Gaggan again.
Yeah.
I have actually understood how to be more legal now because of all this has happened. And I think I also realize that now I can do things like this restaurant is based on what exactly I want.
Yeah.
And I always believe, the plan was to close Gaggan because it was an era of Gaggan, of that restaurant. It was not the end of era of me.
Yeah.
My ex-partners thought that it was the end of era of me.
But it did seem that you were washed up because you opened this restaurant and originally it had a Gaggan upstairs and lab downstairs, and the pandemic broke and all of us got 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. The pandemic just went on and on. You had upheavals in your personal life. You'd lost the right to your name. You owed money to people because you had suppliers and all of that in the restaurant. And you really had nothing going for you. It did seem like it was over.
I had $3,000 in my pocket.
Yeah.
And I had to pay a salary of about $35,000-$40,000. So I was like, where do I go from here? And I took a consultancy in New York, which was in my offer for a long time. I moved to New York for a concert for Foo Fighters
Yeah.
because they paid me a big fat money. I remember an interview by Amitabh Bachchan. He said, even if I have to clean a toilet to play up my depth, I will do that. And I was at that same situation. That if I have to clean a toilet to make sure that my staff I can pay who walked as rebels. And then I realized half of them walked with me because I was paying them a fat salary.
Well, these things always show you
Yeah,
the
then
true
there's
measure of
color,
people.
yeah, and then I out of 66 people, maybe only 15, 20 of them are with me now. But I think I've built back.
But did you not think that it was over? Or you never allowed yourself to think that?
I never think I'll be over only when I die. I think.
And they put a stake through your heart.
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
I think that is how it is. It's like Al Pacino. Yeah, but I'm not going to make someone pregnant at 78.
Give it time. But you came back really out of nowhere, right? You did the New York consultancy.
Yeah.
You did the Mandala Club
9 months of Mandala.
in Singapore.
Singapore.
Which was a huge success.
Great success, yes.
And that, I think, in some sense, relaunched you in the world. People realized that Gaggan was still doing terrific food. But that this restaurant would catch on. And then you did something which is very unusual. Because once you were back, you had the lab, which is what this is, the Gaggan, or the G-spot, G-spot, I
The
think you used
spot,
to call
yeah.
it. And you had the Gaggan restaurant upstairs. You closed the Gaggan restaurant, made it Maria and Singh, and just did performances over here in which you stood and you performed to like sort of the Mick Jagger of food. It was a very risky strategy to take for a man who had lost everything. You weren't scared?
They say when you're cornered, that's when you come out. It's every superhero movie has a failure of a superhero. And then he comes and realizes, I have these powers. And I think it was a similar turning point in my life, that if I had not gone through all that, I would have never done what I'm doing now. Because this is the least I could do to myself.
Okay.
This is me as a person. And if I don't do it, like we are we're like completely closing the restaurant, breaking it again. We have a successful restaurant, but we're going to break it again because I still don't think this restaurant at this physical state is the best restaurant. So I want to make it the best version of what we're doing right now. So next summer in April, we're going to close it for 1 month and come back and not allow people using phones.
Not even take pictures of your food?
Not even pictures, not allowed.
Why?
Because I think if I don't do it at this age, it's one of the concerts I attended. And in Japan, in last week, and there were 40,000 people in our arena, and there was security every block to make sure that nobody takes a video. And for last 30 years, the band has successfully not made any videos. If somebody does it with a secret camera, people generally, you can't see them online. And I think that is something I want to do with this restaurant because it's really inspired me. Because if I don't become that underground person, because the restaurant is made to make people forget everything they have in their life. Because today we are addicted to our phones. Imagine you waking up and the phone is not working. You're in a panic mode. You can't order your food, you can't talk to your people, you are just in a panic mode. And I think the romance of being in a restaurant is dead.
Okay. Let me ask you what's a personal question, but I don't think anyone has asked you this. When you were growing up, and you've talked to me about this, so it's not widely known, your father had pretty severe financial problems.
True.
Yeah? You got by, you were very close to your cousins, your uncle,
Yes.
etc. So you had a family structure. But at least partly as a consequence of those financial problems you faced when you were young, you've always looked after your mother super much. You've been really, really trying to make up to her almost for the hardship she's gone. And a lot of your personality, including the fact that you won't take anything on debt, nor hire purchase, is part of that growing up experience.
True.
Now, most people who've gone through that kind of terrible phase when they were young don't take risks. And yet here, you're the exception. You're willing to throw everything away. You're needlessly redoing this restaurant only so that you can ban phones for reasons that are not clear to me. But you're continuing to spend money. So where does that confidence come from? Aren't you scared? I mean, you nearly went bust once during the pandemic. So aren't you scared it'll happen to you too?
I always say that what worse would it be than my childhood?
That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah, I think what worst? I've been through so much.
Yeah.
What worse could it be? What worse? I mean, in today's world, we look at the news, there's something wrong going on in a big way. And I think what worse can be than that situation? We are lucky to be here, having good food, having a happy life. So I always look at what worse could it be. So I always look at, if it doesn't work, it's what's going to be. So like, I personally think I'll run this outfit till 2028. And then I'll be 50-year-old. So I did old Gaggan when I was in 30s. I'm doing this Gaggan that's 40s. It's like era of Pink Floyd. No, we just finished 50 years of...
As long as you don't want to be
Wish you were here.
As long as you don't want to be the Roger Waters figure.
No, I'm not Roger Waters. Right. I'd rather be David Gilmour.
Yes, okay, that's all right. Then.
Yeah. So, I think the era of me in 50s to 60s will be a completely different chef.
Okay, I'm going to ask about that. Here's some of the food we talked about. We talked about the yogurt explosion.
True.
This is the dish.
This is now completely a different version.
What's the difference?
This is made of chutney.
Okay.
And it looks like a lily pad. The plate is designed as if droplets of water, as if you're dropping the yogurt into the water. And the yogurt looks more photogenic.
It looks nice.
Yeah, and then
But it still explodes in your mouth.
still explodes in your mouth. So you put this into this, you put the yogurt in the pad, you have it in your hand, you touch it better. And the version that was 2010 to this, it's again, I said, what is the hardest dish? They asked me in the random rapid fire. It was the hardest dish because I was the only guy who was doing it.
Yeah.
And now-
You
now-
invented the technology, you invented the dish.
Invented dish. And I think now where it is because the team made sure that it looks like that.
Okay. What is this?
This is one of my, I called about micro seasons.
Yeah.
So now you have these amazing looking cauliflowers.
Okay.
I like the wilder version of cauliflower. They were like smaller florets. You must try this.
This is a gobi.
Aloo gobi. So it's aloo and gobi. So it's freeze dried potatoes and vacuum fried cauliflower. We pound it together, make a flour, and you stick it with a tomato paste. And when you put in the mouth, it's my recipe of aloo gobi, jeera, gobi, aloo cooked together with tomatoes.
Wow. And this?
This is I'm sorry, Doma Wang, but if you cook that with me, you will go through a lot of stress.
This is a momo.
It's a momo, and it's a momo, but we call it matar paneer.
So it's got matar paneer
Yeah,
inside?
because I want to give this lecture to people that paneer is not ricotta.
No, paneer is very different.
Paneer is paneer now. In today's era, I call paneer its own classification. It's not a cheese.
It's not ricotta, it's not halloumi,
Yeah,
it's not
and
feta.
it's not a cheese, and
it's not feta, it's
or
different.
American cheese. You know, it's not
Yeah.
a cottage cheese. It's completely a different cheese. It's not even a cheese. It's paneer, and I think that is what it is. And I think
it's the greatest Punjabi vegetable.
yes, and it has also amazing this petit pois that we get in the winter here.
Oh wow, with a nice sweetness.
Sweetness to it, and then we just serve it with freshly cooked tomatoes.
Wow. So Indian. I mean, it may or may not look Indian, but all the flavors are unmistakably Indian.
And they all like, if you look at, forget the yogurt, but the other two are very winter Indian food.
I interrupted you when you were just getting to something interesting. You said that the next phase of Gaggan is going to be completely different. So kya karoge? What will you do?
One is that, I should not say this, but I should say this. I'm sorry.
Say it, Yaga.
Okay, so
nobody's talking.
we are opening in India.
Is that official?
It's 100% official. I got my MOU done. After
Really?
Yeah.
Where in India are you opening?
Delhi,
Okay.
in a iconic location.
Okay.
And
But iconic means what? Like Janpath
You're
or
trying me to-
Janpath or India Gate or somewhere?
between the India Gate, so the Indian ministry can look at us.
Oh, very good. And you're going to do what kind of food?
I've opened a restaurant in partnership with Rido.
Okay.
And Rido's name is Rido Anton.
Yeah.
And my name is Gaggan Anand. And we call it Raga.
Okay.
Raga. And Gaggan, if you look, this is all about music, inspiration of life. Raga in India means to sing. And I want to open Raga as catering, which I think Indian food market I want to tap on.
Are you going to do wedding catering? 'Cause
Wedding
that's a
catering
huge
also.
area. Okay,
Yeah. But without me going there.
Okay. But poor Rido will have to go.
Rido also for first few, and then I think he'll set up.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've put him as an equal partner with me.
Okay.
So one is that I owed it to him. So I thought, if not Indonesia, India.
Yeah.
So one is that to open Raga, and that is opening next year.
Okay.
I'm hopefully, I don't know when.
We're talking about 2026.
2026, yeah, summer.
Because we're shooting at the end of 24.
Yeah, 26. And
Summer of 2026.
summer. I hopeful.
And are we going to get stuff like this? All these classic dishes?
I don't know what direction we'll take, but it will be based on Gaggan hits.
Okay.
Means not Gaggan hits, and secondly, which we were talking a lot, that I want to make sure that it's price friendly in India.
Price friendly and Gaggan are not terms that are usually used in the same sentence. So
Yeah.
we're looking at what?
I'm looking at about 8,000 rupees.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I want to be in the trend of India and welcome people to my food.
So you're coming home, basically.
Coming home, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, very close to where I quit.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's near the motorcycle
Yeah,
thing where you
motorcycle
turn
thing,
round
yeah,
and
yeah,
round.
yeah. It's very
and
close
you're
there.
back. And you're back. There.
Yeah.
Wow. So what else in the next phase of Gaggan?
I think one is that after this restaurant, I'll move into hotels,
Okay.
which I think is my plan. But I can't tell you much because
But you'll run hotels.
Yeah, I just want to, don't jinx it. And
Will they be called Gaggan hotels? Is that the idea?
Gaggan hotels.
Okay. Wow. So hopefully you'll tell us about it when you're ready.
When I'm ready. And I think 2028 should be the last year of this format of Gaggan. I'll be 50. and then I will cook something which I have dreamed of doing it, which I can't disclose now. So I already know what is my next restaurant, what Gaggan is going to be next. So it's an era, like Picasso had a blue era. So I had every musician has an era. So I think my era of 10 years was Gaggan as 30. My area of 40 is this. And at 50 is a different era.
You do realize in the course of this interview, you've compared yourself to David Gilmour, Amitabh Bachchan, and a superhero.
Oh, I didn't realize.
So is that,
No, I'm not that great. I'm not that
are those
great.
your self-images?
No, I'm not that. I'm not that
Which
great.
is very unlike you, but so these are really your role models.
I call them, not compare myself, but they are my
Role model.
Role model, my spiritual connection.
I've lost count on the number of interviews we've done, but you still manage to surprise me in every interview. Do you sometimes surprise yourself?
I think my only surprise is that you know me so well.
No, not true. But
And I think it's always a joy to talk to you because we never script ourselves.
You're being very kind. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I had
It's
no
a
idea.
natural flow that
I
we
had
keep
no
going.
idea what we were going to
This
talk
could be
about.
like a 5-hour episode and still we will be talking good things.
Yeah, maybe one day we should do that. There's just still so
Like
much.
a non-stop, right?
Yeah.
Like a random non-stop and no
and
filters.
there's so
huh?
much we didn't talk about
No
this
filters.
time.
We didn't abuse at all.
Yeah, no. Well, you did once or twice. And I called you an asshole, but I don't know if that counts. Gaggan Anand, listen, thank you very much. I began by saying
It's always
it was
a
an
pleasure.
honor, and it really is an
Thank you,
honor.
Biz. Thank you so much.